We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies.
Welcome back to Deal Junkies.
It's the Jeopardy version.
Mike's just been humming Jeopardy all morning. I'm Dane McKinney. I'm here with Mike Nuss and Trevor Howard. Gabe is on
I don't know
trip.
where Gabe is.
I don't either, actually.
He told us where he was going, and then I forgot. It was his anniversary, though, recently.
Oh, really?
So maybe something for that.
Oh, he told me where he was going because he asked me to house sit, but I can't because we're running
It's
tomorrow.
got to be somewhere tropical.
Yeah. It's probably, well, I don't know. This is the time of year where you can kind of not be tropical and it's still nice. This is barefoot time of year for Mike.
So happy 76th anniversary, Gabe. Or
76?
how old's Gabe?
I think he's
103?
just turned 40.
Oh,
No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like 48, 49.
He's
He
50.
just turned 50. Yeah. He'll be 51 soon. Over halfway done. Actually, Gabe might live to be like 110.
Because Jan's in his corner.
Today,
What do we got?
Trevor wants to talk about just a bunch of random things, he said. He just wants to give everybody a life update.
Boy,
No,
talk
that's
about
not-
friendship.
Sure, everyone's really excited now to...
No.
No, it's good.
hit
It's
the
good.
No.
but-
I want to talk about
Oh.
this deal you went and looked at that we're doing. So we're doing a development project in a city that
Shall not be named.
shall not be named. And you went and you visited with the city as part of our DD to learn some new information about the project.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't heard anything about it. And I think people like hearing about deals.
That is true. That's true.
Tell me what you did, why you did it, how it went.
Yeah. So yesterday, Mark and I met with the engineer, architect, surveyor, geotech, wetlands mitigation person.
Are these third-party people or city employees?
Third party. This
Okay.
is a third party meeting we had in the morning.
Okay.
So this was a meeting. This was a fun. I don't know if I've had one of these yet, and I was having so much fun. I thought we were going to sit there for 10 hours.
You
and
haven't
just
had a
chit
pre-app
chat.
meeting yet?
No, because it wasn't a
wasn't a
pre-app
pre-app.
meeting. This was like a meeting of the minds.
All project
trying
partners.
Yeah, because this is a weird piece of land, is what I would say.
Oh, is it more complex?
It's super complex. That's why it's
Really?
taken so long. So this won't give any information away that I can't give away, but it first got like approved / entitled. Guess what year, Mike?
2016.
1993.
You're
So
working off a really old approval.
This piece of land, so it's gotten reapproved multiple times. It has an active permit right now. So like the entitlements are safe.
It has an
let's call
active
it.
permit?
Yeah, it has an active permit because you have to either be applying for a permit or have an active permit at all times. And then like when there's a date that permit expires if you don't build, and then you have to apply for a new permit, but it's always contingent upon the new permit being applied for. So whatever it is, it can be the smallest thing, but you have to be either under construction or...
Without these historic entitlements, can you build what you want to build there?
Not even a little bit.
Okay.
And so
Is this because of the wetlands and changes?
No.
environmental changes?
This is like
zoning changes?
This is because of a funky, like grandfathered in zoning that at the time, so it was owned by a Church of the Nazarene. And
The whole land?
the whole piece of land was owned by the Church of the Nazarene. They had a guy that went to the church, I think it sounds like, in 1993, and they were trying to figure out how they could get the church built, but also like, maybe build something for the community. And so for a while they worked on it. And then in 2003, it had gotten annexed into the city and they got it approved for a church campus, which we all don't know what that means. So
It means you can't build anything worth it that will have an actual income stream.
it's zoned light industrial,
Yeah.
but one of the like outright approved uses that they gave it because it had to be conforming to the zoning code was church campus, and there was no definition for it. And so they were just like, maybe that means apartments, because then we
That
can
doesn't
have a
sound
little
like that means.
community. Then we can have a little community, and it'll be like some affordable housing stuff. And so they like made this whole lease with the church the church gets a free building basically, and then you can build a bunch of units on it.
So developer had the property, built the church for the church.
Not yet. No, they just got it approved.
The church has not been built.
No. So there was a church on it already, like a little one, and then they wanted to build like a big new building, and then the apartment units were going to come alongside that. And this first got incepted in
2003.
1993,
And
and
that
then
person's still alive, the original idea?
not the church guy. So the guy who wanted to build the
So
church.
his legacy idea is just passed through minds throughout time?
Yeah.
We are going to finish his legacy
Yes.
for him. Mike.
I love this. Is the church the one submitting new applications to keep the grandfathered entitlement process?
No, so we have to like basically work with the church, but it's the owner of the land who is required to like.
The church is leasing.
Is there a
though.
specific
is
church there
leasing.
now?
Yeah.
There's no church there now.
The
though.
church burnt down.
Oh.
So
And are they still leasing?
that was just a whole separate fluke, but no, they're not leasing right
yeah.
now.
So you have to find a new church to go there, or it's
No, it'll be the same church.
Oh.
Yeah,
But the plan will build a church for the church.
we're building a church. Yeah,
You're building a church.
we're gonna build a church.
And then
Yeah.
you're going to lease it to the church?
Yep.
And then you're
For
going to build
$1.
affordable housing?
$1 a month.
Okay.
So 12 a year. Pretty. I think we can write that.
Well,
off.
why are you going to
can
get
we not
such a good
get,
deal?
Can we not get $2 a month?
Is there a reason?
You trying to rip off the church?
Is there a benefit by...
Yeah. Why is it $1 a month? Why is it not zero or what? Or
Well, because in
market
order
rate?
to have a lease, it has to be for at least $1. So like there will be land leases
Yeah.
or ground leases that have the same thing
How come it's not market rate?
Yeah.
for the church.
Yeah.
Well, it's a church campus, so that's part of the thing, I guess.
For who? Like a
The
requirement?
church seems to be the one winning in this scenario. I
Yeah.
would say.
I'm confused though. Like
They're
why?
getting a brand new
Yeah.
structure that they get for free?
And it's pretty
How do those
expensive.
economics
It's
work
pretty
out? That doesn't make
expensive
any
to
sense.
build.
It's gonna
That
cost
makes no
like
sense.
what? $2 million or $3 million to more? Less?
1.3.
Okay, 1.3.
What's
for
the tax benefit? There's a play here. There's a reason you're giving away $2 million
So
in construction.
the benefit is that it's a big enough project to like
absorb $2 million of cost,
that
1.3.
cost 1.3. Yeah. And then the other thing is you couldn't build this here unless you
build the church.
built the church. And,
But that
and
doesn't
in
just-
your head you might it wouldn't
Why not charge them rent?
it would
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
well
Like,
it wouldn't just this got put in place when the church still owned the land.
So they should still
the
fucking
lease-
pay rent. Why
the
does
lease
church,
got put in
they don't even own the land. You're like, what's going on here? My feathers are very ruffled. Why are they getting this special carve out?
Hear me out though. So it wouldn't make sense and hasn't probably for a while, but specific to this market, one, there's an insane amount of wetlands. And so it's really, really hard to get that side of things figured out, right? And so over the course of the last 33 years since this idea was conceived,
They got sweat equity.
one, partially that, but also you've had so many other like potential projects, but so much growth in the city, but no apartments being built. And so you have this project that's grandfathered in, and like in this area, you couldn't build it. And so now all of a sudden you have the only piece of land that you can build that many apartments on, and rents are high. Obviously, in a if you can't build somewhere, rents tend to
Supply constrained market.
And so it's like maybe 30 years ago, you'd be like, well, why is the church getting $1 lease? Oh, because the church owns the land. But then over time, it flips to like, yeah, the church can have $1 lease. I don't care as long as I can build all the units that we're going to build here. And so
but why would you not still rent it to
you're-
them for like
oh,
whatever?
we can't change the lease because it's a part of.
it's already in place.
It's a part of the
The church has a land lease.
The church will have a lease on the building, but the lease is part of the permit. It's in the
already written.
It's in the permit, yeah. And so in the permit application is the lease.
And this has already been sent, the permit application.
Yeah, so that's the only reason that you can even. That's how they maintained the entitlements, was because they.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
They hired a good dude.
How long is that rate for?
Till 2117.
Really?
2117. Yeah. Is when
What's the square footage of this church?
4,000 18.
It's not a big church.
No,
It's
no.
small.
No. Then that is the other thing is that they're going to build 2 buildings. We're only required to build the first one, and the first one's 4,000 square feet, and then the second one is like they can build it much bigger, but they have to front that cost. That's not on us. We just have to allow them.
So I kind of understand. And this is fully approved, or there's some permits that are approved. What's still needed?
So you have the entitlements for everybody listening. The entitlements basically just means you can do what you want to do with the land. So we're good with your site plan. You're allowed to do this thing that you've laid out. Now what I need from you, if I'm the city, is for you to submit building plans, which would be, here's the civil, which is just a parking lot. Here's how the foundations are going to be laid out.
Okay.
Here's the actual stamped plans for both the engineering and the architecture
Yeah,
side.
entitlements are not permits. Entitlements are land use approvals.
Yeah.
You still have to have building
You're
permits for the structures you're going to erect.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're just high level saying, yeah, you can put this general concept here. Now we have to approve the specifics of each. Okay.
But the value of entitlements for everybody who doesn't know, because I didn't even know this like a year ago, is that the city prior to entitlements can say you can't do that. The city can, I mean, you can have a piece of land and be like, I want to build whatever, 50 apartments here. And the city can just say, no, you can't do that. But once
When
you
you're
have
going through the entitlement
when you're
phase.
going through entitlements,
Okay.
yes. But then once you have the city's approval for set number of units, we're good with this site plan, then you can do that. And they have to say yes at some point.
As long as you meet the other
As long
parts
as
of
you
the
meet
code.
the other parts of the code. And so then it's just like, are your firewalls rated high
Yeah,
enough?
is the
Do you
site-
have sprinklers?
The site plan gives you like all the roads coming through and where the buildings are,
Yes.
like footprint
Yeah,
wise.
footprints are done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're looking at your setbacks, they're verifying all of that, which is you
Making
can
sure.
fit inside of the building code. Now you have to design buildings that pass the structural code.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And then
but
the other
that's-
planning code as far as height and
yeah,
whatnot.
and this piece is entitled,
Yes.
but not permitted.
correct.
But it
So-
has some permits or no permits? Because there's
Yeah,
other
it has a few permits. So you have like a
demolition
you have a,
permit. Or
there's nothing to
there?
demo. You have like a grading permit, and then you have foundation permit. So we can do site work basically.
Oh,
is what
those
it
are
means.
approved.
Yeah,
Okay.
some of it, and so,
okay.
it's a huge piece of land.
So that
though.
gives me a good idea. So now you go back to this meeting with all the people who are doing all these things.
Yeah.
You have, and typically you're talking to them, not on the past projects we've done, not everyone together, right?
Yeah.
So this is way better,
Oh,
probably.
it's so much more fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
because then it's like you're talking to the civil, and he says something, and the architect's like, yeah, that'll work. We'll kind of need to do this,
Except for so they
yeah.
can-
And so then we're asking all the questions, and whoever knows the answer knows the answer.
yeah.
And then they all can talk through how each idea like is cohesive with the
One
next.
another, yeah.
And so
Yeah,
you
it's
get
just more efficient.
I mean, it was a 3-hour meeting, and like I think by the end of the 3 hours, we got so stinking far. Like I went from because you go into the meeting, and you have a bunch of questions, and you don't know who's going to know the answer.
They've
to it.
already looked at this project, all these guys?
So the architect has been working on it since 2007.
Oh,
The
so he's familiar.
engineer first started on the project in 1998.
Wow.
He drew the initial site plan in 98.
Is
and
that
then-
site plan still a good one?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they adjusted it,
Over
but
time,
yeah,
yeah.
but like that, it was conceptually, it was pretty much the same. But yeah, so he's been on it since 98. Like the wetlands lady has been working on it since like 2000.
Are they like,
12
here's
or
just
something?
another person who's going to come sit on this thing for 10
No,
more years?
because
they know how close it is?
Yeah, I was going to say, because the biggest thing is like in the past, the city wasn't built out as much as the city's built out now. And so when it initially got approved,
There was no demand.
when it initially got approved, it was like there might have been some demand, but like this part of the city wasn't as
Developed.
developed. It wasn't as luxury, like it's higher end now, because that was the only
Okay.
direction the city could go. But it's 33 years of
Yeah.
now you have
Change.
retail centers, now you have offices nearby, you have healthcare nearby.
So how much did that
subdivisions.
meeting cost?
This is just your vendors. It shouldn't cost much.
I was
Their
gonna say
hourly
this-
rate.
This didn't
It should
cost
be built
us
in.
anything,
It should be built into their.
but it cost the seller something.
Do you
Oh, it did?
do you have drawings for buildings yet? Like, do you know what you're going to build?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have the first, this is pretty nice too. Every building's identical. So it's a big enough piece of land that you don't have to like fit it to the site. It was really you were more just fitting it to where the wetlands were. And so it's kind of a cool layout because it like flows the way that water would flow almost, if that makes any sense. Because it's like where the creek goes.
It's following
Yeah,
along.
your wetland delineation.
Yeah.
Is it a cool like site to live on too? Because it's gonna
yeah.
it's gonna be big enough where it's like we're actually adding all these amenities, which is cool. But then there's like walking paths and all that stuff you'll add. And
So there's and we met with one of the guys in planning, and he kind of said we should talk to the parks department about it. But there's actually like a super cool park nearby, and then there's walking trails
you
that are
wanna
like
merge into it.
that are probably like a quarter mile away. And there's a city easement for utilities on the edge of our property
Oh, so you
that we can put a walking trail on, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
I presented this to them, and they were like, oh, we actually like hadn't.
and then connect it to the
And then
park.
connect it to the other walking trail to the park. And so it kind of like mitigates our need for as many amenities, but then we
that's cool.
add to the city park system. And so they're
Well,
stoked about it.
Because people would come from the park into our complex, though. Then
No. 'Cause it's not close enough, and two, you'd
Okay.
still have a private entry.
Entry.
And so, I mean, it'd be the same as just like being on the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
okay,
And being
so-
like, I'm going to walk into that complex.
So how's the deal structured? Like, when are you supposed to close? How long is your due diligence?
90
like,
days.
What's your plan
Yeah, we have 90 days from right now. We have a 30-day DD period, but
to close?
no, 30-day DD and then
90-day
60
close.
more to close. And
You're going to close the land before you have building permits?
yeah,
That doesn't scare you on a project like this?
it does and it doesn't. And part of that was like, I mean, it does and it doesn't in the sense that if I was going to close on the land at what it was going to be worth when it had permits, then I would be like, I'm not going to do that. But these guys have been developing long enough and have developed like enough projects this size that we talked about it on the front end. And I was like, hey, this is probably what it's worth when we have permits, but this thing's been going on for a long time. And they're like, yeah, we know. Like, we're going to sell it to you at the entitled price. Like they know what the entitled price, and that was part of why it was like why we put it under contract, because it feels like a good deal, and it's because you're taking on permit risk. And so if you believe that the entitlements are as strong as they seem to be, and that it's really just not an if but when are you going to get permits, it's like, okay, maybe we wait a year, maybe we wait 2 years. On like the long end of it, it's probably 2 years through building permits. And so if I say, this is what I'm paying and then this is what it's worth at permits, and it takes 2 years, the long side, I'm still happy. Like we still.
What's your concern there? Because your
Time
concern
value
is
of
not
money.
your concern is not getting permits, or no?
Well, you're just taking on a whole type of risk. I mean, I don't know what your purchase price is, but if you cash out the land, you're now fully committed to that project.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a complicated project to get financed. It sounds
Yeah.
like a very complicated project to get permitted.
Mm-hmm.
And in a site plan approval, just needing building permit approval, sure, but
Mm-hmm.
do you have any risk with your stormwater management or your sewer or so
Yeah.
it's
That stuff's already all engineered too.
yeah.
And so.
I mean, you can just accommodate time, but you're talking you're gonna have to spend what, $300,000-400,000 more in engineering and design.
My
I thought we were saying $1
yeah,
million.
I was gonna say I underwrote to a lot more than that.
Yeah, $1 million.
I think that after meeting with them, and since the buildings are all identical, that's a huge savings on the architecture side. And we talked to the architect about that because it was kind of like, dude, I'm not gonna.
You also don't want to spend about that much money without owning the land.
No, and that's the other thing is it's like you understand. Like, would I buy this as raw dirt? Probably not. Would I buy it as raw dirt if I knew the market really well and I knew the strength of the potential and the strength of the entitlements and permits?
But we're also
yeah,
just
probably.
not in the position of buying raw dirt right now.
Yeah. No.
No one should be buying raw dirt right now. I mean, it makes sense.
I don't think it does
What's
in
your
most
plan? Are you
markets.
just gonna get the building permits and sell it, or are you gonna?
No, we're
gonna
gonna
build
build
it
it
out.
Yeah, so that's the other side of it too. On the permit front, is we're buying it from a lifetime group of developers. It's two business partners who have been developing for a long, long time, and they are just retiring. And so it's not like and yesterday that picture was painted even more clearly. Like that's kind of what we were told, but in your head, it's like you look at a good project, you see a good project, and you're like, why would they not just build this? But it's so hard to put yourself in their shoes, and they're selling the rest of their portfolio. And so it's not like the story doesn't line up. It's like, no, they're under contract on the rest of their portfolio that's already built. It's like, if I'm selling my whole portfolio, I'm also going to sell the land. Like, I don't want to, because it's a big project. They're 5 years into it before they can, like, from right now, before they can even reasonably.
Where do they fall in the ownership change? When did they buy it, and how did they buy it?
They bought it in 2017, and
that's why the church lease goes to 2117.
Yeah, so they got that completed in 2018, and it was a 99-year lease. And their issue was the wetlands, and it was because you could only get the credits from one place, and that place shut down. And so they weren't able to release any more credits, and the sellers were just like, okay. And so then they tried to use wetland mitigation, so they like changed the site plan, did a bunch of other things. Got it really far down the road, and it took till pretty recently, and then the bank opened back up, the wetlands mitigation bank, and so then they just bought credits like 4 months ago, and so the wetlands is totally handled.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
What are wetland credits?
So the wetlands credits are instead of having to mitigate and make sure that you're not impacting the wetlands, instead you can buy wetlands credits and say, hey, we're using this land elsewhere to basically net zero the environmental impact that you're going to have on this site. So when you put like fill dirt in
higher level, so like wetlands, it's literally just wet land.
Yeah, it's like a marsh.
Like
think of something marshy or wet soil.
They don't want you to disrupt that area. So there's wetlands elsewhere that they will preserve, essentially, and then you come and disrupt this one?
Yeah, essentially. Okay. And so you're buying the credit from another piece of land.
They allow you to do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they do that in Oregon, too. We've talked about doing that on other pieces of land, because there's a bunch of wetlands all over Oregon. And a lot of people who like farmers will do this.
So there's not like a slope issue. It's not treed. It's not a creek.
No,
it's just.
It's just that
just not suitable for.
It doesn't infiltrate well, and so if you pour water, the water stays there, and that's normally not how.
And how much of the land is affected by this? Because does it mess up the soil for your project or anything like that?
I mean, you're gonna have to dig a lot, which just means like you're gonna have to pull up a lot of the soft soil and then fill back in with gravel and peat, and
I guess similar to like the beach, kind of like how you're
it'd be kind of like that. It'd be like that.
Can you grill this project with any questions or concerns you would have as we're going through it? No, well, he has some thoughts.
I do want to say before the kind of to finish off the thought on the permit risk. The sellers, because we talked about that a bunch, because I was like, I don't close on projects without permits, basically. And they were like, well, we'll give you X amount of time to like look at the project. And so I've already been looking at this for 5 or 6 months. And then when we went under contract, he was like, hey, like, I'll give you the time that it takes you to get the money, but I'm not giving you the time that it takes you to get the permits. I'm selling
for the land.
How much am I paying for the land?
$18,000 a unit.
$5 million. Yeah. $5 million.
19 grand a unit.
How much should they pay for the land?
I would guess like
a lot less.
2 million, 1 million. Yeah.
Yeah. But they've spent a lot of money. The wetlands credits alone were $1 million that they paid for in cash.
Oh, they actually finished.
They bought the credits already. It's done. Yeah, and so that'll transfer it.
So because Mark was thinking the permits you could get done, we could start building in like 6 months. I thought. No shot. You'd say.
I don't think so. I mean, that's on our OM. I put construction started July of 28 or 27. I mean,
dang. Okay, so you're meeting with the city now. So you go meet with all these guys. You like the project. You learned what was the key takeaways. Just
the key takeaways is just like you don't know the city yet. You don't know the.
They gave you a lot of insight.
Entitlement process. Yeah, you don't like real. You can look at all the permits and you can like kind of paint the picture of where it's at and why it's taken so long.
Yeah.
But until you sit down with everybody,
all the people that did the work.
Yeah, it's like you don't really know.
So now you understand the project. Then your next meeting is you go and meet with the city, right?
So we already met with the city yesterday. Oh yeah. We
after meeting with those guys.
Yeah.
And then what is that like? Because then did they tell you how long they would expect permits to take?
Yeah. I mean,
how long?
he basically explained to us what he thought the turnaround time would be on responses and comments. And so he was like, if you submit, then we have X amount of time. It's really probably going to take this long. But good news, bad news. Bad news, not a lot of people are developing right now. Good news, not a lot of people are developing right now.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of work ahead of it.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's just, in housing in this market specifically, is prioritized higher because they want to get more housing
Over other like industrial or whatever.
And so the mayor put like a state of emergency, let's call it,
Okay.
like a year ago on housing.
So how long did he think it would take?
I mean, it's like, did you submit a perfect set of plans?
Sure.
On the long end, I still would put the long end at like 16 months from now.
What's the
I don't think it's
quickest?
2 years. I mean, the quickest, if we started, I think the quickest is still a year.
Really?
Yeah, and but the reason being, like,
Yeah, but you guys, okay, so I think you're being pretty naive on your timeframes. Meaning, yes, you have all these people on board, but you don't have building permits. How long is it going to take it before you actually have a plan set that you can submit? How many months is that?
I think we'll be 2 months out.
You think your team can get 270 units
No, 'cause it'll be
designed and
phased.
engineered?
No, it'll be phased. It'll be phased. Yeah.
But okay, then how does the phasing work on your time frame?
So
Are they going to just issue building permit for this building and then a building permit for that building and then a building permit for that building?
yeah, so we'll have the first 2 buildings permitted. We'll do all the public site work, and then we'll build the 2 buildings. But that'll be in conjunction to application for the final building for the rest of the building permits. And so
do they have applications right now for the first 2 buildings?
No, so we have the foundation permit for the first building. We think we're 2 months out from a full set of CDs, and then we would be
From
able
a
to
CD? What's a CD?
construction drawing, which is just like your architecture and building design.
Okay.
And engineered?
And engineered, yeah, fully engineered. And so they think they can do that in 2-3 months, and then you submit that. You probably have a 2-month turnaround. We have 2 weeks to look at the comments, revise the plans as needed, submit again, get comments back in 2 months, and then ideally you're not I mean, if you did 5 rounds of that, then you'd be at 16 months. And so that's where 5 rounds of comments is like 5 rounds of comments depending on the building. But again, this is just Woody walk up. And so you're really like, it should be a pretty
Simple.
I don't want to say simple, but it's like, it's easier than like a non-conforming type mixed
Yeah,
use
it's not
building.
anything crazy. It's pretty
No,
simple.
I mean, they've seen it before. Like you've got a 1 hour firewall, you got sprinklers, you've got.
Yeah, I get all that. I've been around the block in the development world enough that it's all the keywords that all these people say, which is they're prioritizing housing, state of emergency. That doesn't change their process. It doesn't change what they're going to do. It doesn't change the fact that they're human. It doesn't change the fact that people forget and don't respond to emails and get sick. And so I don't know. I definitely wouldn't plan on it being 12 months. And I think 16 months is probably, if I were looking at this project, I would expect an 18 to 24 month time frame before I break down. That's how I would plan it out, not knowing how the jurisdiction works. But it still is in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know one jurisdiction in the Pacific Northwest is known for being amazingly fast,
Yeah.
despite how much they want housing.
Yeah.
Could you push this? It would fit my schedule better if we start in like 3 to 6 months. Like,
And the other part is why are they selling to someone who's not familiar with their market and is miles upon miles upon miles away?
relationship.
So one, it's not their market. That's the biggest thing. They've never built a project there either. They're actually from our market, and
They build all over though.
But why don't
No,
they just
they
sell
don't.
it?
no, they've only built in 2 markets.
Oh,
So just regardless of that, why don't
Yeah.
they just sell it to a developer in that area that's familiar with everything? Is it because they're
Yeah.
getting a premium with you guys, or is it because there's just no demand there?
He actually.
What I'm speaking to
Yeah.
is your leverage, and why do you actually need to close in 90 days?
Yeah, no. So part of it is that we've been working on it for 6 months, and so we met with these guys. I met with these guys in January, and we had the initial meeting about a different project. And the biggest thing being, I had a really good relationship with their escrow officer, and their escrow officer was like, "Hey, I know you guys are offloading some stuff. These guys are looking to build XYZ. said escrow officer took that called me and was like, hey, I want to make this introduction, but I'm not going to do it if you're not going to take it seriously, because it's taken me 40 years to build a relationship to like, I've been friends with these guys for a long, long time. I want you to understand that like, I love introducing you to people, but this relationship specifically is one that's very important to me. I want you to take it serious. And I was like, well, you try to do that. But when somebody says that, you're like, okay, like I'm going to go above and beyond even what I would normally try to do, just because I'm cognizant of who they are, how successful they've been, and their expectation for who they're working with. And then on the project piece of it, it's like I met with them a bunch. Like we sat down and talked about it. I met with them and talked about a different project. They presented this one to me, and then I underwrote it, sent them my full underwriting the following day. I mean, I was all fired up on it because I was like, this seems like a great deal. Sent them my full underwriting the next day. Didn't even I wasn't trying to be coy about it. I was just like, here's how I see the project working. Like, you guys are selling it. I know you're selling it. Tell me what you see is wrong with this. And I think they just liked the they were just like, yeah, normally when like we've had two other builders look at this we've had two other builders look at projects like this and send us their underwriting, because normally a builder doesn't send you their underwriting. And he was like, both of those guys, like when they sent it back to us, their underwriting was like 20% less than what we knew it was going to cost on the construction side. And I think
later
he was like,
figure it out.
yeah, he was like, and those always fall. He was like, and I think you're like 10% over what it actually costs. And I was like, oh, okay, sweet. Like, where do you think I'm wrong, basically? Yeah. And then I went back to their office. We ran through the whole underwriting, and I was like, I'm not the one building it, but I am the one who like does this piece of it. And I think they were just it was a known entity, and so they're not from that market, so they don't have relationships in that market. And then it was a known entity who was like doing other projects, and we were doing projects in their market too that they knew about, and they were impressed with those projects on Skyline's front. So Skyline was building projects that they had seen, and they had been like, oh, they do it.
I get every reason why they should be excited with you guys, but why do you need to be so excited to go gung-ho on this?
It's just from a numbers perspective and looking at like 100 deals to find one that works. So it's like, okay, once you find one,
all that.
Totally.
So
it meets our metrics of what we're trying to do.
So let's get some more numbers behind it. So you're 18 grand per unit for the dirt. What's it going to cost to build per unit? And does that absorb the church?
We're probably 245 in.
What are they going to rent for?
On average, they'll be at $1,900.
How does that make sense? I just don't know. Like, what are they?
Your expense ratio is so low.
Yeah, but how low can you get it? How low does your expense ratio?
8,000 per unit is what you had.
We're at 7,500 or 7,600 per unit.
It's like 30-some% still.
Should be around 30, right? Basically, at a high level, you had it at what, 68 million project cost.
I guess the average rent will actually be
33%.
Do I? Yeah,
33%.
Because you have it at 68 million all in project cost ish, and a 90 something value.
Yeah, like 67.5 project cost and like a $90 million value.
Without the credits, and then you take it to 100 with credit.
And then the credits would take it to like 102,
Yeah.
So the way my mind thinks of it is just kind of like, I try to keep things really, really simple. So I look at it as you're getting $1,900 a month in rent, and it costs you $245 to build, plus how many years of interest built into that $245 cost. So at the end of the day, you're more like $265.
No, that's all included.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So how does $1,900 of debt wipe out $245?
That'd be $261 a unit, and then because you're just thinking from like 1% rule perspective, like just where
generally,
your rent's at.
So there's going to be a capital stack to it, but like, what's the cost of your debt? So there's scale that brings in lower cost of debt, which will increase your cash flow. But at the end of the day, you're not increasing yield by doing this level of scale. So that's where my brain starts to
the yield is like a 7.1.
How do you
7.18?
How do you get yield of 7% when it's there's that ratio shouldn't
of
support
rent
that level
to cost. Yeah.
I mean, we'd have to just look at the NOI relative to the cost to build, but and I'm probably wrong on rent.
But the ratio is a very correlated indicator to that. And so that ratio seems like it's really stressing.
Yeah, because normally you're doing a value add project and you're taking, like, if you have
So just based on-
2,000 for a unit, you'd want your rent
Yeah,
at
I mean, you
2,200.
could just take your entire project and divide it by the number of units and look at it at 1 unit per basis. And so for us, because our cost of debt of where that is at, that ratio seems like it brings like a 6% yield, not a 7% yield. And so if you're getting a 6% yield, that just seems like a really risky project right now.
Oh, yeah.
From that standpoint.
No, yeah. Or so like from a high level, we're trying to target like, and that's like a 5.5, 6 cap market for a new construction project, depending on the year you're in. And then so we would need to take it to like between 7 and 8.
7.5,
yeah.
But if you can get that type of yield and you can build it in a supply constrained environment.
Okay, sorry, the rent's 2,000. That's what.
It's still to his point,
yeah,
though.
2,100.
Yeah, to his point, it's because, and then you're just saying because it's the higher cost and higher rent, that ratio doesn't apply necessarily in the same way.
Yeah.
Because like when we look at 100
get-
per door on a value add project, like we're having to rent that for 12, being at 100, 120 per door, rent it at 1,400.
Yeah.
And now you're flipping that
Yeah.
Right.
on the back end.
So the 1%,
But that's also running at a 50% expense
Like,
ratio.
Yeah.
when it comes to just retiring debt or retiring basis, retiring cost, the 1% rule will allow you to retire a dollar for dollar of debt per cost on a residential loan, and it'll get you a 1.0 DSCR coverage essentially. So like all of our BRRRRs that we've done recently where we've got all of our cash back, they've underwritten to a 0.98 DSCR ratio, and that gets us a dollar for dollar of capital out. But in the commercial world, because they go from a DSCR standpoint, you need better than the 1% rule to retire all your debt. And so this is where the capital stack doesn't make sense to me, because you're not going to get the 260 or 245 grand of debt per unit. You're only going to get like 180. And so now you need to bring in equity.
Yeah, so on that of where it debt covers and whatnot, based on his underwrite,
yeah,
you
the
can pull a
1%.
$68 million loan on stabilization.
Yeah, the
essentially.
1% rule doesn't account for the expenses. That's the only, that's the biggest difference, I guess, is that the 1% rule isn't account.
No, that is it. So it's
just 1%
if I
of rent,
have
though.
260 grand of cost into a residential unit,
Yeah.
and I'm renting it for $2,600 a month,
Yep.
I can get a DSCR loan for a 1.00 debt coverage because I am the property manager, and in that world, they will allow a self-managed property to reduce expenses to get to 1.0.
But that depends on rate
I was
too
gonna
and
say,
everything.
yeah.
So,
That's
like,
exactly what I'm saying and so in that world, your rate in the DSCR world is higher than a commercial world.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't understand that ratio. Is if I know that in this world at this interest rate, it's really hard to retire 260 grand of debt with $2,600 of rent, and that strips out expenses to a 1.0 DSCR. And so now you go to a commercial world where you're 1.25 DSCR.
Yeah.
So you're realizing all the expenses, which lowers your loan amount.
correct. Yeah.
The only thing that increases it is a lower interest rate.
Yeah.
And so it's the scale and the loan size that lower your interest rate, which then allow you a different leverage and capital stack mechanism.
Yeah. Well, and this is that was based on a HUD loan too. And so there is a world where we leave like a little bit of money in and get a different loan, but that's based on a 115 and a 35-year AM. And so not a 125 and a 30-year AM,
Yeah,
which
so that's-
drastically changes
Changes your leverage by like 10 to 20%.
That's what I'm getting at is the reason to do this deal is because this type of deal can attract debt that other types of deals can't.
Yeah.
Because the market's so exacerbated that you can only get so much yield. At a $5 million land cost, your yield is capped on what you can get at that project. The only way to increase your yield is to lower your land cost. And if the deal pencils because you can get good debt.
No, the yield on cost is higher than we're seeing on other smaller deals. That's the main reason.
Yeah, so he likes it because yield on cost takes you that 150 basis point plus spread.
Yeah, it's like
potentially to 200 if you get the credits.
Yeah.
And then I like it from like an underwriting perspective of essentially you can go place a takeout loan at your all-in cost on the project so you can recapitalize and then hold it on 35-year fixed rate debt, and it
Assuming the interest rate
works.
environment stays the same.
It goes up
Actually,
a little bit.
assuming the interest rates go up by 75 bips.
That's what you penciled in.
Yeah, so assuming interest rates increase from what they are today, 75 bips.
And that's exactly just so based on the deals that I've done,
Yeah.
that math breaks it creates an error sign when you say rents are $2,000 and your costs are $260,000. That is an error sign in my brain.
Oh, sure.
It's
Yeah, I'm trying to think
yield
of the
doesn't
math.
seem right. The
Correct,
interest,
correct.
like none of that seems
Yeah, because if
correct
you
to
look
me.
at, so what he's saying is like, and we see the same things. Like we look at a value add deal, we buy it for $100 a door, we're in at 120. Like we need to rent that thing for $1,400. So our cost,
Oh yeah.
yeah. But I think when you,
Well, on those projects though, we're looking at higher interest rate debt and a much higher expense ratio. Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole swing.
but from a yield on cost perspective too, is what he's talking about. Just from that, not even talking debt.
yeah, okay,
right?
so disregard
So-
that, but still the expenses. I mean,
Yeah.
the expenses on a $1,400, because if you have a
it's going to be
$1,400,
50%
if you have a
expense ratio.
$1,400 rent, your expense ratio, you have higher expenses than you have on this maybe the same expenses per unit. Let's call it that.
But your expense ratio is 32%, so you're saving 8% of expenses.
You're not running. I mean, if you have
we just did the math of
No. I'm saying on like a $1,200 rent, your expense ratio is really like 50%.
You'll probably
It's like
run
a
at
20%
45 to
savings
50%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
At least for our like larger value add project, because there's just, I mean, you're replacing everything, and every turn is 15 grand or 10 grand.
no, I get it. I understand it from an operations standpoint. It doesn't make sense that you can actually get that level of debt. It seems like you're going to have to leave in
It's only
equity.
because you can swing to that 1.15 DSCR on a 35-year AM. So that drastically.
It's the 1.15. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
both of those
And then
things
that's
combined.
not an interest rate risk. That is
That's
this
just the loan
project
type.
qualifies for
Correct.
this type of loan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's huge. And that's why we started looking at other projects like this.
So think of it that way. So essentially what we're trying to run to is like a residential level at a higher rate at a 1.0. So you're going from a 1.25 down to a 1.15. So there's 10% of your expenses right there. And then the lower interest cost absorbs the other 15%.
Well, and the AM
Essentially what
schedule.
you're saying.
So
Well, yeah, and
Because we're trying to get to the same spot, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, we're trying to get to 1-to-1 coverage for residential that's at 7%. You're trying to do it, and that is the 1% rule. This is not the 1% rule, but we're saving 8 to 10% in actual true expenses, and then we're saving another 15% in actual interest cost. When you look at the interest is below the line versus above the line, but that's how you kind of account for that difference.
yeah, I think that
You're saying to get to the loan amount.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get my brain to wrap around
How that
how
deal
you can
works.
quickly
Dude,
look at a deal like this and get excited
Well, it's
about
not
it.
good.
Well, so that's
this
why-
sounds really fucking scary.
No, and I've been looking at it for months, and I literally like over and over again. I was looking at our underwriting and critiquing. I was spending like 2 hours during my day looking at like 3 line items on the underwriting to be like, am I really going to be able to run it at like that cost, or am I really going to hit those rents, or is it really going to only cost that much to? And it's like our construction costs are like higher. I think we'll actually come in lower than what I have it underwritten at on a construction cost level. I think our expense ratio is pretty much right on, and I think our rents are unyielded or untrended. Sorry,
Verified?
No, untrended. Very verified. I mean, it's rent rolls from
What does
neighboring properties.
untrended mean?
So I'm not accounting for rent increase through construction period.
Oh, absorption rate.
Yeah.
are you not?
No. So because I have rent increases in the spreadsheet so that it goes through the 10-year life of the property, but the rents that I'm using are lower than the actual current rents, if that makes sense. So then by the time we're stabilizing, by the time we're renting them out, it hits the current market rents, if that makes
Yeah, I think from it's just the expense ratio changes that number you're talking about too, going
Well,
from the
this
larger number.
is just a good example of where people struggle going from like existing buildings to new construction. Like I see that, and people asking me, well, how do you doesn't pencil? We want to do development, we want to do new construction. We can't wrap our brain around how this makes sense. And I think the only way that it does is that you just really have to understand the financial structure and the capital stack.
Yeah.
That is the biggest component.
Well, because when we're looking at deals, it's like, how can you hold it and recapitalize and have higher velocity of capital? And it's like, if we can go build a deal, take all of or most of the capital back out, and then you get to have an equity stake of $30 million in the deal at that point. So you're more than doubling your, depending on how the LP split,
How it
but
shakes
doubling your money in 3 to 5 years or whatever. And then you get all your money back, and then you get to hold it for
But
however
because
long.
of the debt, you can retire the equity that's in there. It's like,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. And then, because if you're doing a 1.25, like you can do this same plan, but you're doing it in 2 phases and waiting. So you're recapitalizing maybe like 50% of your money, and then you wait 5-7 years, and then you're doing it. And this allows you to do it on the front end. And then I like it because you can have 35-year AM loan that you can sit on and do nothing if you really have to.
Yeah.
And then your risk is now you have a lower spread, right, from a debt coverage ratio. So if your market rents change or things like that change, that's where you can run into problems of like, okay,
well,
we're operating on a thinner margin now because we re-levered it.
Yeah.
So
the reason,
but that becomes less risky the longer you hold that project, obviously, too.
Yeah. And it's hard to like, so on the 33%, I think I actually underwrote to like a 29.7%. And in your head, it's like, well, okay, whatever, 3.3%. Who cares? It's like, well, that's another $5 million of leverage on a project. So like, and so in your head, it's like, yeah, 3%, whatever. Like it's, it's nominal. On smaller projects, it is nominal. Yeah. But on a project this size, and that's why I've had to like scrutinize every line, is because it's like,
you should look more about what he's talking about too. And we should, because I don't think like off the top of my head, like I agree with what you're saying. Like conceptually that doesn't make
fundamentally,
sense.
It doesn't make sense. I like, but that's because I'm not looking at projects like this ever.
Yeah. But we should figure out what that math ratio is. I think it's due to the expense ratio. But that's a good question.
That's what I would dig into is just to, like, if you're trying to compare a go, no go on this versus something else, that's that's the calculation you're going to essentially look in for the efficiency of your dollars. Right?
Yeah.
And then the other component of that is the non-intangible stuff or the intangible stuff, which is peace of mind, new construction, long-term.
And then it's like the market itself, right? Because you could build a really amazing project, but then if you have a market that's not growing, like you have so much that you can't, you can kind of predict, but can't like fully know, right? Of like, what will this market do? Because you could, if you're building the right market too, and you catch that up wave, like that's huge.
And that is a good market.
This is the.
I know some really big real estate guys in that market. I can connect you guys to. So
really?
You get some boosts on the streets.
And no, it'd be good to hear a third party, like non-biased,
a local human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because we talked to a bunch of local people, but they're all invested, and so it's like.
Yeah, and I think like how we got this deal too. Is similar to like how I got my first apartment deal. Is like the guy was just at the end of the game and really liked that I was into it, and they've really liked how like what we've done so far and what we're doing, and they've had questions like they weren't going to take our offer actually, because they were like, we don't like, can you guys really go do this project? Can you
literally?
get the money?
On one of our phone calls, we were talking for like an hour, and I could tell there was like something. We were like 45 minutes in, and I was like, dude, like what's the bit? And he was like, okay.
Can you get the fucking money?
He laid out laid out the other two offers that they had and was like, hey, so here's where we're at. Like he's a total no BS guy. Yeah. And he was like, here's where we're at. Here's who these guys are. They're, foreign nationals. Here's where their money's coming from. Here's my certainty level that I would get money from those guys. And I offered to do basically the same structure that they're doing because they're carrying a note for us for 2 years or 3 years with no interest, as long as we pay it on time. So if we don't pay it on time, then they'll extend. It sounds like, but yeah, and it's really not even like it's pretty. 5%. Yeah, it's super fair. And he was like, so that's where their money's coming from. And I literally like had to. I was on a run. I stopped and I pulled out my phone and I broke down how I had the whole capital stack envisioned, and it was like, it was like 75% pretty sure money, and then or probably 60% pretty sure money, and then 40% was like, I'll figure it out. Like, but the part that he liked was that he knew I was going to have a substantial amount of capital into the deal prior to even going out to the raise. And then that was the call where he was like, all right, you guys should come back down and like meet with us. Let's sit down at lunch.
Because he wanted to give it to us.
But he literally was just like it's a heavy lift, dude.
Yeah, certainty close matters.
Well, and they're going to reinvest some of that capital in the deal too between their partnership.
Yeah. And I think yesterday that kind of got built up even more just because one of the owners didn't know us yet.
Were they there with you?
Yeah.
All of them?
No.
One of them?
No, just one of them. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, to your point, and you're doing what I did for the first like 4 months of this project was where I was like, somebody's rug pulling me. Like it doesn't pass the sniff test of like, okay, one, I don't think the yield on cost is actually that, because the yield on cost of nothing is that right now. Like the yield on cost for every project we look at is so bad. And so I was like, I don't believe it, because I don't know the market. So then I like dive into that, figure that out. And then I'm like, okay, why are they selling this? Like, is that really, like, that's really the story? Like, and then just over and over, you see not only the verbiage or like the words behind it, but you see the actions, which is like, no, we're selling the rest of our portfolio. Like, here's what it's under, like, it's all under contract. And it's like, okay. And then it's like, okay, so do you know how we build projects? And then they're breaking down, like, I'm on site and they don't live where this project is. He was like, I don't want to do this because when I do deals, I do deals.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to be on site. Like, I'm not, this is going to be, I'm retiring. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. He was like, I'm not like a passive, he was like, I didn't get to where I'm at by being like a passive investor in my own projects. Yeah. Like, I am active on all of my projects. Yeah. And it was like, well, yeah, it seems to be true from everything I can tell. But yeah. So anyways, I mean, I'd love to have you scrutinize the underwriting too, just because like I don't know how to
underwrite a fucking project like that.
Well, you know how to look at all the line items though, to your point of like, let's look at it on a 1 unit basis. Like if it's a single unit, like what does this make sense? And then if you can extrapolate it out, then awesome. Like it still makes sense. Dude, I'm so stoked on this thing. That
you should go figure out how to answer his question though, actually.
Which one?
And then group chat us.
Which one?
Of just why that, from a conceptual perspective, like why that rent actually pencils with that unit cost versus on a smaller project.
So the actual rent is $20.67. The rent that I was talking about was wrong because it was considering the concession and it was considering the year 1 rent, not the actual stabilized rent.
Oh, like when it's not full?
Yeah. Or no. It was considering like the untrended but not even current market rent.
So what's the average per
So
unit
when
rent?
we lease it up, it'll be $20.67.
Well, you should have started
on average.
Sense.
And what's your all-in?
Well, I said it was $2,100 like 10 minutes ago.
It's $240.
Back it up,
You're
Jamie.
saying it's $2,600 now.
No, $2,100. $20.67
Oh,
is the average rent.
but to his point, still you're like $500 below where your unit costs at. Like, why does that?
The 1% rule, like,
no, I
works
understand,
in
but like,
theory, but
no. It's like the question is like,
just-
what
it
is the
feels
actual
like-
math that makes that
To me,
work? Because from a conceptual
because your
perspective,
expenses aren't going up.
The top of line expense, like the way I look at it from a macro aspect with your 32% expense ratios, it looks and feels like you need an 85% LTV, 100% loan to cost of loan to get all your capital back. And that doesn't seem like enough spread. It doesn't seem like it's justifying.
What do you mean?
say that one more time.
Like your entire build, $68 million, right?
Yeah.
It on your expense ratio, I did different. So 2067 times 12 times 277
260
times-
units. Why
Yeah.
260
Oh,
units?
it's 260.
Mhm.
Okay, 2067 times 12 times 260
Yeah, times
Times
0.95
point
times point 68,
0.68.
No. That's you're double counting.
32% expense ratio.
Okay. Yeah.
Divided by 0.055. What does that give you?
So that's 4 million in NOI divided by 0.055. That's your $75 million of value.
Mm-hmm.
I just did
Yeah,
what I
so
did.
that-
Yeah.
Yeah, so those numbers we're saying just back of the napkin, that doesn't make sense, correct?
Yeah. So if you're all in at like 6.8 and it's worth 7.5, that there's not enough spread there to justify the risk.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying I don't think that's not how we did the math. Like,
Well, he's using your rents and your expense ratio right now.
no, I can.
So you tell
I mean,
us,
we
yeah.
can look at the actual spreadsheet. I have it on my laptop. I don't.
Pull it up.
Well, it won't work on my
Oh.
phone. It has macros.
Well, that's just the top of that's where I say.
Yeah,
so
this is the things we
napkin
have to be able to
standpoint-
answer. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't. Well, because I don't underwrite on a basic
Sure.
calculator.
I know, but that's the same underwrite though. And if you're saying
This
like
is a
I added up,
stabilized analyst and like at stabilized value,
Yeah.
$75 million.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I just that's
What do you have a stabilized value at?
85.
85 million.
Yeah, and then it goes to 90, and you're
At a 5.5 cap.
5 and a quarter, 5.5. Yeah, all the caps are 5 and a quarter or lower
0.05.
from sales. The sale comps are at 5 and a quarter or lower, but I think I'm at 5.5.
So 4,675 of NOI at 5.5. or so about $4.5 million of NOI. So $4.5 million of NOI divided by 260 units. So that's 17 grand divided by 12. So 17 grand per year.
4.675 at a 5.5 cap gives you 85 mil, if that's your NOI.
Yeah, that was what the difference
Yeah.
is a quarter point makes a $10 million difference.
Yeah.
At $4.5 million of NOI, a quarter point is $10 million.
Yeah, but we should look at that too, because I'm just curious from how that expense ratio
Well, I've
affects
sent you
it.
the underwriting.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it in terms of like expense ratio compared to if it were this, like how that fluctuates it. Like I can't do that in my head. I need to.
Well, it drops at $1.3 million per % of expense ratio.
My calculator is giving me too many numbers, but let me do it like this: 4 point.
Well, we should wrap this up
nobody can watch
because
it.
no one can watch us type numbers in the calculator. So
All right.
Yeah,
Let's wrap it
yeah,
up.
a quarter. 4.5 million of NOI, a quarter point of cap rate is an $18 million difference of value.
Well, that varies on it. Cap rates don't work on a linear scale.
What are you talking about? I'm just saying a quarter point.
You're saying from 5.5 to 5.25 is an $18 million swing.
Yes.
That's not true.
it's a $4 million swing.
Yeah, that's not accurate.
It takes you to 89 million in value if you had 4.675 and you drop it to 5.25.
5 million times 0.0025 divided by
I was gonna say, I don't
It
need
would
to
take you from 85 mil to 89 mil at 4.675 mil NOI.
goes 85 mil.
85 to 89 mil. So $4 million swing for that quarter.
So where was I
point.
getting the 75 million? 75 million times
Okay.
0.055.
Okay.
So
well,
yeah, so I was just coming up with 400 grand less of NOI.
yeah, that could be right. Which again, like 1%
So 400
matters a lot.
400
We'll do
divided
this
by
off air.
260. So that's
All
that's
right.
like $1,500 a unit. Oh, divided by 12. It's $128 a unit per year.
Middle of talking. I'm trying.
We're wrapped up.
Yeah, we're wrapping it
I
up.
had to finish the
All
fucking
right.
math.
All right. Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. You need to tell me whether or not you think that Mike's underwriting is right or Trevor's underwriting is right. Don't scrutinize my underwriting. I've looked at it a lot. Thanks for listening. Please share it with a friend. I think you guys are still hopping on calls with people.
We have on dealjunkiespodcast.com, we have, well, I believe we have.
I think
Yeah, you can hop on a call with us, but we also put all that information that we used to give out to people of like calculators to underwrite deals, how to videos on how to do and structure deals, and all that stuff just free in there too.
Yeah.
So telling you
pretty
how to
sweet.
build and scale a real estate portfolio too. So if you're trying to buy your first 3 rentals, whether you have like 5+ or if you have 10+, and how you go to the next stage. So you guys can check that out.
Check it out.
three.
Share us with your friends. Actually, just one friend. Share this episode with a friend who likes underwriting. We love you, and we'll see you next time.